Alright, is this thing cool or what? Well, I had this great idea of getting a core aerator and making an attachment for my 2002 DR Brush Mower. Some of you may remember when Lowe's offered the Troy-Bilt Flex. Several years ago, Troy-Bilt came out with their residential version of the DR, where you could have a base power unit and you could easily switch out different attachments depending on what your application was. So when the Flex, the first year that they offered it, they had the mower attachment, the snowblower attachment, and the power washer attachment. They might have had another attachment, but I'm not sure. But I know the second season that they offered that mower power head, that you could get the core aerator and the dethatcher. So I thought it was a really cool concept for a homeowner, and you know, I guess they kind of used the same concept as the DR with the different attachments, and that's kind of how I came up with my version of taking tow behind attachments like the core aerator and the dethatcher, or even the transport cart, you know, the dump trailer that you would typically put behind a long tractor to tow. I figured, hey, I could design this or put it together to where instead of towing it, I could push it with this DR power head. Core aeration in my area is not that popular, especially the neighborhoods that I service, and I could never justify, you know, getting an expensive core aerator. You know, it would be nice to get one of those stand-on versions, but you know, they're, you know, $8,000-$10,000, probably even more now, and I only get a few requests. I don't advertise too much for it, but I do get requests from time to time, either from my customers or neighbors of my customers, to aerate their yard. And in the past, I've, you know, would get a handful of customers, and then I'd go rent a core aerator and, you know, try to knock them out, you know. But it was always hard to the timing of it, because you always want to have the ground somewhat soft from either, you know, a good rain, or, you know, if they had an irrigation system. But you know, it was always a headache to coordinate, you know, get the list together, and, you know, renting the machine. And so I just wanted something that I could use, you know, a simple attachment that, you know, it's common for these lawn tractors to have these tow behinds, and I figure, hey, why don't I just get one of these tow behinds and you know, hook it up to my DR, and so whenever I got a request or two, I could easily knock it out. And you know, with them, you know, with these aerators, they're very inexpensive. This one was just over $200. It's a 40-inch AgriFab core aerator. I went with the 40 instead of the 48 because I wasn't sure, you know, how much strain it would put on the power unit, and you know, the turning, once you put the weights on there, the cinder blocks, you know, how much, you know, if it would be hard to turn with this DR power unit. Now, this is a AT2 power unit. It doesn't have the power steering on it, so that was another reason I went with the 40-inch aerator instead of the 48. But I've been looking to get the DR that has the power steering capability, and if I can get this to work, I may eventually upgrade to a newer DR, you know, brush mower power head. my initial concern when I was, putting this together was how easily, it would be able to turn pushing it versus towing it. So when I was watching the Troy Flex Aerator attachment, with the initial reviews, that most were complaining that it was a struggle to maneuver the unit with the aerator attached, and that was because it was actually fixed to the power base and there was no pivot point. So it did make it seemed like it made it very difficult to steer the flex system, versus the way I came up with this one was I bought a bracket, a tow, I guess a hitch that you would get for a zero turn or long tractor, to have these type of tow behind attachments. And I mounted it on the DR here, and I flipped the bracket over and kind of mounted it upside down, and I had to drill another hole, half-inch hole, one up from the factory hole. And what I wanted to do was I didn't want to have too much of a turn radius, so I drilled it to a point to where it gets about a 45-degree angle on the turn. So I can easily, this with no weights on it, but I can easily turn it left and right with really no strength to maneuver it. So, and another thing about the Troy Flex that people were complaining about was that there's no reverse on their unit. So being attached to this DR, I can always put it in reverse if I get to those situations where I need to pull back on the aerator. Everything up to this point actually went really well, except for now that I wanted to actually test it. I'm a little leery about it because I did watch multiple videos on people using these residential grade aerators as for commercial use. And of course, for a homeowner, this thing's probably perfect, but you put it in a use it for commercial use, things are gonna start bending and breaking pretty quickly. So, and I can see with this tongue on here that's going to bend, and I've seen that on other videos where guys had to weld and modify other braces, and even on the the other spots on the aerator as well. And they notice like things where they use welds, they don't weld, they use more like on this, they only weld it like 2 spots, and you start stressing this, these things start breaking. So you have to either start welding stuff or know a welder, and also adding more brackets and other supports to make it beefier for commercial use. This may become a winter project. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this thing modified soon, because I know that there's going to be some other issues that I'll have to work out. But the main thing is I'm going to go to, I'm going to do this anyway, but I'm going to go to, we plan on going to the 2022 Expo in Kentucky, and hopefully, at the DR booth and outside in the demo area, that there's a engineer. I want to talk to him about where you mount your attachments. Now this is where you would mount your attachments that are made for this machine. You would just slide it on there and you would lock it into place as so. It would be really cool if they had an adapter that you could slide on there, lock in, and it already have a hitch on there that the whole thing swivels with the terrain, and also has the hitch for universal attachments like this. And that would be awesome. If I don't really get something from them, I'm still going to try to do a prototype of my own. I'll get a sleeve or a pipe or something and weld the bracket, the hitch bracket on that, and try to beef it up so that so it doesn't want to bend while I'm using this aerator. But I want it to where I can use the dethatcher. I even want to get the tow behind dump trailer, and to use for like mulch and stuff like that. So I want to be able to switch back and forth with all those attachments, and also the original brush mower and the snow blower attachments that I already have for for this DR. So alrighty, this concludes this video. If you have any suggestions at all, please let me know. I'll greatly appreciate it. I'm going to continue to see if I can get this thing dialed in, and hopefully by next year I can advertise early, so that I can line up these aeration jobs and make a few bucks between mowing and the leaf season, and do some overseeding, and have more services that I can offer during the slower periods. And we'll check you out in the next video. See ya.